Starting out with your low poly project, you are going to need to open a new document. So I'm going to go to File and then New. And you can either choose one of these custom or already set up sizes, or you could create your own. So I'm just going to go to Landscape because I know the image that I'm using is of a landscape orientation. I'm going to leave it set to 11 and 8.5, but you can adjust that if you would like. And I'll hit Create. Now I'm going to place my image, so File, Place, and find where the photo that you're working with is, and then hit Place, and click and drag across your screen. So now that I've placed my image that I'm going to be working with for low poly, I'm going to zoom in just to make sure that it's clear enough. So you want to have an image where you're zooming in, and you still have a pretty clear view of all of the details. So I'm going to zoom back out a little bit, and now looking at my layers panel, I'm going to add a new layer, because just like before, you want to always be working on a new layer for any of the edits that you create. So new layer, if the layers panel does not show up for you, go to Window and then Layers and select that. Now I'm going to lock my background layer, so all of my edits are going to be on just my top layer, and it's not going to affect my bottom layer at all. Now I'm going to begin outlining, making sure again that I'm on that top layer. I'm going to grab my pen tool, which is located over here, or hit P for pen tool. And instead of following the exact curve of everything, for this project we're going to be working with straight lines. So we're going to be working with a lot of triangles. Even though I'm going to be creating straight lines, I'm not going to outline the entire eye like this. I'm going to be working with light areas and dark areas. So I'm going to outline different value changes. One area that I could start with is this dark part of the eye. So I'm going to outline that. And again, I'm just using those straight lines and clicking. If you have a fill, so if you have maybe white that's filling in your shape, you'll want to hide that so that you can see the color and the shape underneath. So I'm just going to hit this little red line here that says none, and that will get rid of the fill for you. So now I'm going to go in and try and add some smaller triangles within the shape, because you'll notice there's some areas that are darker, some lighter, some different values or colors. So you want to try and break that up a little bit. I'm going to start out and make this line a little bit brighter, so a different color. That way it's going to stand out more. I'm going to choose a brighter blue. And then going back to my pen tool, I'm going to hit P and begin to create more shapes or connect anchor points within this. So to start out my path, wherever that little minus is, you'll want to hold down Shift so that it adds an anchor point. And then I'm just going to create triangles. So I'm going to make one end here, right where this other black value of the pupil begins. That way I can separate and space that out. And then maybe I will make my path right here so that, again, that darkest area has its own shape. So I'll connect my path there. And you always want to try and make everything a triangle, so instead of leaving this shape, I'm going to divide that in half to create two separate triangles. So now that I have all of these triangles completed in here, I can either continue and go around the outside, or I could finish my shape and hit Enter, so that way it ends the path and I'm able to start a new path. So instead of just drawing one line right around this eyelid here, you could create that as a shape instead. So I'm going to create that as a value, as its own shape, and outline that. And then within it, you'll want to begin to break that up into triangles. So again, that little minus sign shows up when I'm starting my triangles, when I'm starting my anchor point. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and that will add to my shape. So I'm going to begin to break this up into some triangles, and as you go, you'll get faster with this with some practice, but continue to break up all of those shapes. And then I'm going to hit Enter to close my shape. Every once in a while, I would definitely zoom out on your image, so Command minus, and kind of check how things are going with the size of all the shapes, if they kind of fit together. As you're continuing, make sure that you're finding those value changes. So I'm really looking at even the highlight here on the cheek, and I'm outlining that shape. Now, areas like this are obviously a lot bigger shapes than the inside of the eye. So as you're creating your triangles here, they may be a lot bigger, and that's okay. So in these areas with larger shapes, I would definitely shoot for creating bigger or more triangles within your areas. So I'm going to finish this triangle off here. Oops, and again, I didn't hold down Shift when that minus button came up, so make sure that you always do that. So here's the minus button. You have to hold down Shift in order for it to add to your path. So then I can end my shapes over here, hit Enter now that I have all of those triangles done, and you can continue on. So I would just continue to find other areas of dark and light. So here is a dark shadow along the edge of the cheek, and I'm outlining that. And beginning to fill that in with triangles as well. So holding down Shift when the minus comes up, and trying to follow those paths and anchor points, creating all of your triangles.